Hi guys, this is Dustin, Think Mr. Too Blessed to be stressed, and today I'm coming at you with a book review of The Richest Man in Babylon. Now, this book is written by a guy named George Clayson, and the book has been out for a good while, but this it's kind of one of those like old but good books. It's got a lot of good stuff in here, but it may take a little bit of going through it to kind of dig up those golden nuggets that are in this book. So today's review, I'm gonna keep it short and to the point, but I want to go over some of the good points and some of the bad points of The Richest Man in Babylon. Just real quick, I thought it was really funny as I was reading the back cover of the book that it actually says, in language as simple as that found in the Bible. That was one of the descriptions on the back of the book. I thought that was so funny because honestly, a lot of people have trouble understanding the Bible and understanding the way the Bible is written with all the these and does and thous and so I thought that was kind of funny because it says as easy as the Bible. And I guess back then, maybe in the 1930s, whenever this actually came out, maybe the Bible was considered easier to read. But so that was just a little snippet which I thought was pretty funny. So just to get into it real quick, I'm going to actually take you inside the book and just show you a couple pages which I think are pretty good, and just give you an idea of what's inside, a little bit of preview inside the book, and some of the good things, some of the bad things. Just one thing I will go ahead and tell you, the whole thing we were talking about, the way it's written, the book is it's kind of written in such a way where you kind of have to start to read it to understand it. If you ever read the Bible or any sort of ancient text, then you know that some of the stuff is you have to really kind of read through it to kind of start to understand it and start to understand the context it's in. You might be thinking at this point, Dustin, okay, well, if this book is a little bit hard to read, is it really worth me reading? And the answer to that is yes, it really is worth you reading, because there are some solid financial principles in here that everybody needs to know. We're not just talking just making money. We're not talking about overnight riches. We're not even talking about thinking and growing rich like Napoleon Hill's work. We're talking about keeping the money that you make, keeping some of it for yourself and learning how to invest it wisely and using your money to make money. That's what the core of this book is all about. So I'm going to take you inside the pages in just a second, and I'm going to kind of go over a couple sections and some of the stories, because basically this book goes through parables and they use stories to make a point. And as far as I know, these are ancient stories that are pulled out of Babylonian texts. I don't know how accurate that is, but from what I've read, that's what they are. And so it's kind of like, reading parables and almost like reading stories out of the Bible, but you're reading stories from Babylon. And these aren't really necessarily related to Jesus and God, but they're kind of written in such a way that's like that. But the parables are good. The actual parables get to a point, and kind of like the moral of the story is what you're getting to in the story. You're learning through stories, which is good, which is a good way that people learn. So let me go ahead and go into the book, and I'm going to show you exactly what I mean.
Okay, guys, so here we go. So here's the book, The Richest Man in Babylon, and I'm just going to take a moment to kind of go through here a bit and show you exactly what it looks like on the inside. So just the first page, you can see this starts off, I said 1930s, but actually it was the 1920s, I guess, when this book was written. And basically just, says, what can a book about the 1920s tell modern investors about their finances? Basically, it can tell you a whole lot. It also kind of goes in here and it talks about money and the way that people think about money. And honestly, a lot of people just don't understand how money works. And this book kind of goes out there to explain that and how you can make the most of your money. Now, some of these they have kind of like some of these these parables in here, or actually the morals of the parables, I guess you could say. And I can tell you the way about it's been written is kind of like, like I said, a little bit harder to understand, and it's just different, to be honest with you. Sometimes it's not necessarily hard to understand, it's just not the way you usually, hear things these days. Obviously, these are ancient texts, so, things like start thy purse to fattening, control thy expenditures, make thy gold multiply, because it talks a lot about gold and it being like actual jingling heavy pieces of metal in your pocket, and so it's like they're talking about physical gold coins, and obviously these days we're talking more about bank accounts and physical cash. And these are actually the parables that are in the book. The man who desired gold, the richest man in Babylon, 7 cures for a lean purse. You see how these kind of lean purse, obviously, these days we think of a woman with a purse, but this is actually about, a man or woman, just basically their bag of coins that they carry. So that's another way it's kind of different than what you see, or the way you think about things in terms these days. Meet the goddess of good luck. There's a story about this guy who are these guys talking about the goddess of good luck and how she shined upon you? And obviously, we don't believe in several different, gods, like the goddess of luck and all these different gods of different, attributes. But in the stories, they're in there. So I just want to kind of give you a little bit fair warning there. But the morals of the stories are still good, even if you don't agree with all the different little intricacies of the stories. So, and basically what it is there's this guy, the richest man in Babylon. I'm not going to give away too much in here, but there's this guy who basically understands money so well that he kind of mentors people and tells the story about how he learned and how they can learn how to be basically wealthy too. So it actually says our prosperity as a nation depends upon the personal financial prosperity of each of us as individuals. And it talks about basically that we need to be accountable for our own, money and taking care of it and building wealth ourselves, be a profitable nation. So it's kind of interesting. But let me just get into the first story. Can I kind of show you what I mean about the way it's written? So basically it gets in here, it's like Ben-Zir, the chariot builder of Babylon, who was thoroughly discouraged from his seat upon the low wall surrounding his property, gazed sadly upon the simple home and open workshop in which he stood, a partially completed chariot. So we're starting out with the story, right? It doesn't sound too bad so far as the way it's written. And, we'll kind of go in here a little bit before. He's talking to his friend. You can hear that they talk to each other. His friend's name, I guess, Kobe. And thou hast not one shekel in thy purse, yet thy sit like a statue upon the wall. Why not complete thy chariot? How else canst thou provide for thy noble appetite? 'Tis not like thee, my friend. Where is thy endless energy? Doth something distress thee? Have the gods brought to thee troubles? So you can see immediately just from that paragraph how it reads. And there's a good bit of this kind of stuff in here where you understand it, but that's not the way that people talk these days. So I just want to kind of give you fair warning of that. But honestly, reading through the stories, you kind of get into them after a while and you understand how these people are talking to each other. And it still makes sense to you, but it's not the way that modern people talk, obviously. And like I said, it's kind of like reading the Bible a little bit. Would I knew an answer, Kobai replied. No better than thou, and am I satisfied? My earnings from my lie are quickly gone. Often must I plan and scheme that my family may not be hungry. Also that my breast is deep longing for, that's a guy by the way, also that my breast is deep longing for a lyre large enough that I may truly sing the strains of music that do surge my mind. Okay, so again, you can see. So I wanted to give you an example of how it reads. But basically what it is, you go through the story, right? And you can actually get into these stories. They're pretty good. And understand the characters and what they're growing through. And usually, this is where we get into the main story, one of the main stories. Usually, like towards the end of the story, you'll kind of understand what they're hitting at, like what the moral of the story is. By the time you get to the end of the story, they'll usually have, I'm going to show it to you real quick, just the first one right here. Like the moral of the story is at the end right here. So like for this one, the guy goes through and explains that basically when you make a paycheck, right, when you make your earnings from your work, your labor, that a part of your earnings is all for you to keep. A part of all you earn is yours to keep, basically. So basically, he goes through and talks about how you should be like taking 10% of whatever you make and putting that aside. Learn to live off of 10% of your your earnings, your paycheck each week. So you should be taking at least 10% of the weight and putting it away in a savings or whatever. Obviously back then, you're just keeping your gold. He talks about building up silver and gold and copper and things like that. But basically you're putting that aside, your 10%. So this is like practical, financial knowledge, right? But this is just the first part. And it basically kind of gets into the mind of the people listening to him that, a part of what you earn is yours. Don't spend it all. That 10% is yours to keep. Make sure that you adjust your living, adjust your finances so that 90% is enough. No matter how much you make, just adjust the way you live and the way you spend so that 90% is what you actually use and the rest is yours to keep. And just, do that basically off of each check that you get or each payment that you get. And then, a little bit, I won't get into too much here, but basically he gets into he talks about investing that money, and like sometime if you have that money built up over, a course of time, you start to invest that money into other things. And you talk to people who actually have knowledge in these areas about where you can invest it at. And once you do that, you can actually learn to, use your money to make more money. And he calls it, it's so funny, he talks about golden armies. But he talks about, building your gold and, using it to make your gold multiply and having armies of gold basically, to serve you, basically using your money to make money. So that's kind of the gist of it. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time going through this, but he talks about this, make thy gold multiply, guard thy treasures from loss, which basically means don't make unwise investments. Make of thy dwelling a profitable investment. He talks about basically owning a home instead of renting. Well, I guess it's kind of like that. Ensure a future income. So there's a lot of good principles in here. You just got to learn through. Basically, you go through the stories, and the stories teach you these points. See, here we get to another one. The end of this one is, men of action are favored by the goddess of good luck. Basically saying, the good things happen to people who take action. And that's true about any business and anything you're in. So that's basically it, guys. There's a lot of good in here. And you can get this book pretty cheap these days because this book has actually, been out for a very long time. And there's, like you can see, it says more than 2 million copies sold. And it is a very good book. And also what I like about it, it was a quick read. I basically finished in about 2 days, just kind of going through it a couple hours each day. And you can see it's not very thick. It's pretty thin. But and the words aren't like too filling on each page. But it's a good book, and I would recommend you get it. I'll go ahead and leave the link on here so you can grab it, and hope you guys enjoy it.